name's Crisp. I'm a street artist from Australia. I started street art about 10 years ago. What inspired me was when I went to Bogota, Colombia, where the street art scene is probably one of the best in the world, in my personal experience. It's a mecca of graffiti and street art. It's like the whole city is completely covered. It's probably one of the only countries in the world where I've experienced where it's not illegal. Sometimes you have to pay a bribe or a fine, but you can't get arrested and be put in prison or get a charge against you. There's a huge amount of inspiration there. There's a lot of political unrest. Obviously you've got the war on drugs, the civil war and peace process, and the collapse of the peace process recently. So you get a huge amount of socio-political street art there as well. And then also you've just got the pure aesthetic. Colombia is a beautiful place. It's got a huge amount of biodiversity. You've got the Caribbean coast, the Pacific coast, the Andes, the Amazon. So there's a huge amount of inspiration to draw from. When I was there, I started street art and I started doing stencils. Basically, I haven't looked back since. I lived in Bogota for 8 years, and it's still probably one of my favorite places to paint because there's a rawness there. You paint and you don't get paid. I find in some other cities in the world there's street artists who only paint if they're getting paid. For me, that's not the right way to do things. Street art and graffiti should be done in a way where you're, one, doing it illegally, and you're making a point that isn't restricted and it's uncensored. If you're getting paid to do it, there's usually limitations or expectations of what you're going to paint. I understand that in Sydney, Australia, it's an expensive city to live in, and I know artists need to make a living. But for me, you can't call yourself a street artist if you're getting paid to paint.
When we moved here and when we designed here, we wanted a gallery. We wanted an entranceway that people could walk into and have the building look different every time our clients came in. That was brave new world for us as far as art or gallery or having different people here. It worked really, really well. We've worked with others to have that space here, and we refresh it and change it every 6 weeks. Emil had actually seen some of his work on Instagram, and we got him in.
I was scrolling through Instagram one night and I just saw these Star Wars concrete figurines, and I just messaged him saying, hey, I really like these, come and show them in our gallery. And yeah, one thing left to the next, and we booked Crisp in, and that's why we're here tonight.
This exhibition, Dislocation, is my first solo exhibition in Australia. And initially I was sort of apprehensive because I don't normally do exhibitions. I can put works in with group shows, but not a solo exhibition because the majority of my body of work is in the street. So for me personally, it was quite challenging because I'm not used to painting on canvases and designing installation revolving around a gallery. Hence why I called it Dislocation, because I was trying to get the feeling and the essence of what you paint in the street and bring it indoors in the gallery. Can you call it street art then? I'm not sure, but I use the same techniques that I use in the street, and I tried to have that rawness to come into the gallery. So it's, you know, art from the streets. I actually prefer the rawness, the imperfections that you get in the street, because you have to be quick and fast, and I think that has a beauty in itself.
I love the transcendent nature of street art. You would see it one day and the next day it's gone, and it's quite different to a work of art that's exhibited in a gallery that's on show all the time. I mean, I love the concrete sculptures because that's I guess what I fell in love with. I saw Chris's art. I guess second to that, I love the mural that he painted in our entrance, just because yesterday there was nothing and today there's this amazing mural that everyone is talking about, and yeah, maybe tomorrow it's not there anymore. Yeah, I love that fact that you're capturing art in a moment in time, in a specific place, and maybe tomorrow it's not there anymore.
Sydney, I think, has got a huge potential. I think it's overshadowed by its little friend down south, Melbourne. But I think Melbourne's oversaturated. I think personally, Sydney, you've got so much potential and so much opportunity because there's so many walls available. When I first came to Australia, everyone was telling me, go to Melbourne, there's more opportunities, you know, you'll be able to get up more. But in actual fact, Sydney is lacking of a lot of street art or urban art. Sure, it's stricter and it's more controlled, but there is a huge amount of walls to take advantage of. So I started painting here and I've loved it. People say, how do you get walls? You just go out and you know, paint walls. It's a no-brainer. Like, sure, you can ask, and if you don't ask, just do it anyway. Usually people don't like the idea of it to start with if you ask, so I find sometimes it's actually better if you don't ask. You do your piece, and then when they see it, they actually are surprised and they embrace it more. For me, it's very important to keep to the roots of street art and graffiti, and I think Sydney's become a bit sterile in terms of, you know, what's acceptable in the street, and I think it's important that we still push the edges and the boundaries, so we're doing something interesting, not just conforming and just going, oh yeah, no, it's too expensive, we have to pay rent, we've got to get paid. Fuck that, you know, street art and graffiti is about intervening, making people think, going against the status quo, and I hope Sydney takes advantage of that.